Pirates fight for Old Southwestern, for alma mater dear. Pirates fight for Old Southwestern, for victory is near. To Southwestern will be loyal, to the sun fall from the sky. And remember to the end, that our fight will never die. Pirates fight, yeah we win, ayy. Pirates fight, whoa, to the end, whoa. Pirates fight, yeah we win, ayy. Pirates fight, yeah, to the end, whoa, whoa, to the end.
In the 2022 season of SU Football Weekly, my name is Merle Bertrand, Vype Live Broadcast Director, joined as always by the head coach of the Southwestern Pirates, Coach Joe Austin, soon have been caught our producer, Josh Blanche, helping out. Josh is doing the producing on the football broadcast, sitting in tonight for an extra pair of hands, and Nathan Nunez back, keeping an eye on the broadcast. Thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. A great crowd, Coach. For everybody who knows, it's audience participation night, so all those little index cards out there, if you ever wanted to ask Coach Austin a question, now's your opportunity, and it doesn't even have to be PG.
With the size of the crowd, you might go into overtime with the audience questions tonight.
And Coach, I know you wanted to give a shout out to some of the sponsors, so take it away.
Yes, we've got a great group of sponsors. We'll thank all of our sponsors. In fact, you normally do this, but I said there's so many here tonight, and I don't want to miss anyone, that I'm going to go through some of them. Pastor Stephen Castleberry with Antioch Georgetown is here with his sons. He doesn't even hear me talking about him. He's talking to Marissa, which is fine. Baylor Scott and White Healthcare, Roger Chappell Realty Group. He's starting a new streak. He's one of the previous record holders for the most consecutive shows made. He's getting back on track. Chick-fil-A Georgetown, Chisholm Trail Pediatrics. Hewlett Chevrolet, Buick Volkswagen, Doubleday's Pizza, Eagles Wings. I think Eagles Wings will be represented here tonight. First Texas Bank, Gary Brown CPA, and as we go through in the different segments and thank more of them, we'll mention all the sponsors that are here tonight. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank everybody for coming out. And I mentioned audience participation tonight. Shoot me an email at southwesternfb@gmail.com. Jim couldn't figure that out a couple weeks ago. southwesternfb@gmail.com if you have a question to ask Coach, and we'll get to that in the fourth segment
and
of the show.
With the note cards, you just want them to bring them up during the breaks, right?
They can either bring them up or we'll go collect them between breaks.
Cool.
Either way.
There were a few questions as folks were filing in how they turn in their questions, so that's good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's an institution of higher learning. Come on. All right, so Pirates coming off their bye week halfway through the 2022 season and getting ready to resume play this Saturday afternoon in Brownwood versus Howard Payne University. We'll talk about that later on. But, Coach, for those who missed the show last week, give folks kind of a quick recap of what the team has been up to this week. It was kind of an odd off week, if you will, that we talked about last week.
Well, the bye weeks are great whenever you can get them, and so we'll definitely take it at this point in the season. The American Southwest Conference is a large conference. It's got nine conference games. There's 10 teams in the conference, and we made an agreement that started with the coaches group, went to the ADs and the presidents to have a mutual bye week, week 6. Mm-hmm. So play 5 games basically, take a bye week, and then play the last half of the season. Because inevitably someone gets stuck with the first bye week and the last bye week, and no one's happy with it. And the proposal was actually, I'm happy to say I submitted it, and it was unanimous with the coaches. For the players, it was a great time to do it in the middle of the year. From a physical and mental health standpoint, a good time. Now, a few teams to get their one non-conference game in their schedule, because it's hard to schedule a week 1 game always, especially regionally, have moved around. So not everyone had their bye week last week. I think 4 of the 10 teams played, 6 of the 10 teams had their bye week. That's how our conference is set. So now we've kind of had our first half, and then we're going to get into our second half this weekend.
Well, back to work this week, and you sense kind of a different mood or energy after the break. I'm guessing tonight was the first practice after the break?
Well, Mondays are our off day, which is why we're able to do the show on Monday nights. And so for folks that
just in general throughout the season.
For folks that follow the show, there's been times in different phases that we've had different days off, and so we've done the show on different days. So today is our practice day off, which allows us to meet a break away from the office and get here, and the players that come in as show guests to get here. There's no player guests tonight because they're on fall break. This is the first time in 10 seasons that our fall break has coincided with our bye week.
Right.
And I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but I think the players are happy about it because they were able to get 4 days off. They had Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, today off. They have to come back tomorrow because you have to get ready for the game, but there's no classes again tomorrow. So fall break is Monday and Tuesday of this week. So tomorrow is just a football training day. We'll start in the early afternoon. We'll have some weight training, and then we'll do our meetings and get on the field at our normal time. And then they're back in the classroom, and we're back into our normal routine on Wednesday.
Well, sort of an up and down first half of the season, as evidenced by the 2 and 3 mark, but a lot of good plays all over the field in those first 5 games. So Josh W. has compiled a whole bunch of highlights for us to kind of recap the first half of the season, and Coach is going to narrate those. So soon he'll fire them up, and we're ready to go for the highlights.
Okay, let's see if I can keep up with this. I think I do an okay job of this so far, right?
So far, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start with the Cal Lutheran game. Great overtime victory. This is JoJo Wilson, freshman that's made a really big impact. You're going to see more of him taking the screen pass early in the first quarter. Our first points of the season came off of not a block punt, but we tackled their punter in the end zone. Peyton Vaughn with the strip sack, and Patrick Nicholas fell on it for the touchdown. This is later on in the first half, and Patrick Nicholas, again, our free safety, with the interception to stop Cal Lutheran's drive. We got out to a 21-3 lead here in the season opener before Cal Lutheran stormed back, as they would say. Here's Landry Gilpin escaping the pocket, getting it to our tight end, Joey Robinson. Joey's had a lot of really good plays, a lot of chunk plays where he's got 20, 30, 40 yards at a clip. And then this is Gianni Taiscui out of the backfield. Landry Gilpin finds him up the middle in the second quarter. This was a 4th down goal line stop. Peyton Vaughn, who's had a really good first half of the season, tackles a running back out of the backfield at the 1 yard line. And then we're going to go on a pretty long drive here, starting with our own shadow of our own goal line. Ben Lancaster has had a great first half of the season as a sophomore punter. He's been a guest on the show. He also earned Conference Player of the Week a few weeks ago. This is a 70-yard punt, flipping the field, pinning Cal Lutheran back down in the 2 yard line. That was Colby Bartlett off a play-action pass to extend the lead to 21-3 here in the season opener. Another play-action pass, Landry Gilpin on the post route to JoJo Wilson as Cal Lutheran was extending or cutting into our lead. That was a good play for us to flip the field position. This is late in the fourth quarter now. We got the ball back with time for just one or two plays. We get the ball over to Ethan Powell, and we're able to have the clock stop on the first down. We spike it with 1 second left. Charlie Fournier comes in and nails the field goal to send it to overtime. That's kind of got cut off. Landry Gilpin scoring on the quarterback counter tray play. And then here's a two-point conversion that won it. We kind of messed up the pass protection with the guy hanging all over him. Landry Gilpin hits JoJo Wilson for the win on the two-point conversion. We went for the win rather than the tie. If you follow the team, you know the Belhaven week was a complete mess. But we started off okay. This was on our very first drive. Landry Gilpin hit Ethan Powell, who's one of the leading receivers in the conference this year. He's had several 100-yard games. And, the Belhaven trip also had a weather delay. It had all kinds of transportation issues. And so it's been kind of a difficult trip. We analyzed that a lot at the time. That was, I missed that one. That was Micah Justice, that had the interception. It's hard to remember 4 weeks ago, right? When you're going through stuff. This is another isolation on the post route to Ethan Powell. Nice adjustment by him to get us down tight, getting close to the goal line there. This is still in the first half of the Belhaven game. Now we're right after the lightning delay. Great punt by Ben Lancaster. This is going to be a 50-yard punt. They don't catch it. It lands at about 45 and rolls out to 50, and then we cover it really well and flip the field. So Ben's been a great surprise for us. He earned the job in training camp after training a lot as a freshman and didn't get to play a lot behind a senior punter last year. That's Peyton Vaughn. I mentioned he's had a great first half of the season with the interception. Sam LeBleu is a freshman that has also made a name for himself with JoJo Wilson. He's had a lot of good 10, 15, 20-yard carries. We're going to see him probably with a touchdown reception. And then here's another chunk play from our tight end. Joey Robinson with the little exchange route with our split end, and Damian Gomez finds him. A little razzle-dazzle backwards pass to JoJo Wilson, who finds Colby Bartlett, who scored in both of our first two games, to cut it back a little bit. This is the first highlight against Mary Hardin Baylor. This was actually off of an interception. And watch number 5, Jaquan Marion, with a great effort to come in and strip the guy that intercepted the ball, and we get it right back. And we basically just got a new fresh set of downs. What a great effort play against those guys. Good group tackle here. Ala Gomez is leading our team in tackles. He was in on that with Peyton Vaughn. Freshman Nathan Huerta gets the blocked field goal in the second half. And we had a really good second half offensive. We're getting ready to see some highlights. This is Damian Gomez hitting Ethan Powell on the post route. And then later on this drive, after we see Sam LeBleu with Jarrett Robinson, our offensive tackle, leading them out in front with the nice gain, we're going to see Sam LeBleu out of the backfield. Damian Gomez finds him for our first score of the game. We're going to score again in the fourth quarter here. Damian Gomez hits Ethan Powell on the post route into the middle of the field. Now we're into our win over McMurray. Good pocket movement by Landry Gilpin. And what an amazing catch by JoJo Wilson. There's a great still photo that Carlos Barone got that we're using on some promotional stuff already. Off of the play action, the bootleg. This is actually on fourth down. We went for it on fourth and goal, and Joey Robinson with the muscle, the strong senior tight end, taking it in over their safety. Another good tackle for loss by Ala Gomez. I mentioned he is leading our team in tackles. He's right up there with Peyton Vaughn. We're into the second half now. We had 2 double-digit leads that we had to overcome. McMurray got out to double-digit leads twice. This is the beginning of the second half. It took us 6 minutes to erase this double-digit lead and take the lead for good. Really nice movement again by Landry Gilpin. Gets a few blocks down by the end zone, and he carries it in to make it a one-score game. A quick stop by our defense gives us the ball back. And then this is what we call a Jimmy Joe pass. Our Jimmy's better than your Joe. So we throw it up to Ethan Powell. It's 3rd and 25. Maybe you get interfered with, maybe you catch it. And this would be the absolute best thing you could hope for, a 70-yard touchdown on 3rd and long. Now we have the lead. We're not going to give it back. Nice run after catch by Dugan Sexton, who missed the first 3 or 4 games with an injury. The first 3 games, I think this was his first action. Nice to have him back. Then Jaquan Marion with the tough run to really set the final margin. We're expanding it. We're going to get another field goal here later. That's going to come off the end of this drive. Good escapability by Landry, picking up another first down with his feet, setting up our last field goal by Charlie Fournier to set our scoring margin at 38. McMurray had one score late to get close. This is last week against ETBU, the first play of the game, Malik McDonald with his first of 2 sacks. A really great defensive effort by our defense last year. Later on in the first drive, we get pressure, and Elijah Norris gets his first of 2 turnovers. And if you pause it on the coach's video, you can see just the outside of the sole of his shoe go out of bounds. He swears he didn't, and it is what it is. They called him out. Landry Gilpin to JoJo Wilson in the first quarter. This gives us a 10-7 lead, and trust me, he's in. He didn't lose the football. He was reaching for the goal line. More really good run defense. You got Patrick Nicholas. You got Jason London there combining for the stop. Our defense had some short fields. Our offense had some turnovers, and they kept shutting the door. This is Patrick Nicholas, who usually wears number 9, but due to a wardrobe malfunction, had to wear a different uniform during that game. Our defense created several turnovers, gave our offense chances. Alec Gomez can't quite get the sack, but there's Malik for his second sack of the game. Keeping us right there. It's 14-10 into the fourth quarter, and we just weren't able to quite do enough offensively. Here on third down, they're able to almost get the first down. Peyton Vaughn with the strip, and there's Eli Norris with the second turnover of the game, picking up the fumble, running it back, giving the offense good field position out near midfield. Now we're getting in the middle of the fourth. We run a screen and go by Colby Bartlett. We fake the bubble screen, send it down the sideline to Colby Bartlett for a 50-yard gain. Another chance, as we talked about last week, we got in the scoring range a lot. We moved it really well, 20-20 or 30-30, but we weren't able to cash in enough in that ETBU game for the offense to really match what the defense was able to do.
But again, a lot of good plays, a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to go back and look at that. It's always fun to go back and look at the good stuff that happens, right? So one thing that really stands out to me is how much fun it looks like the team is having on both sides of the ball. And you don't always see that at the collegiate level. Sometimes the guys can make it look like it's work out there, but they really look like they're having a good time playing football right now.
Well, one thing that our players do a great job is they compete really hard. And they play with energy and effort, and that gives us a chance all the time. It's been a difficult schedule. California Lutheran is a good football team. They're 3-3 right now. They lost to a playoff contender of Chapman their second week. Their only other loss after that was to Redlands, who's their defending conference champion, a perennial playoff team. They've been kind of rolling through their conference really well. Bellhaven is 4-1. They're in the national rankings. They're going to end up worst case 8-2. They're probably going to be 9-1 and have a chance for an at-large bid. They may get a share of their conference championship. Another really good football team, and of course Mary Hardin Baylor is the defending champion. We've had to play them. East Texas Baptist. Their only losses are nationally ranked teams. It's been a really good schedule. We're going to play probably when it's all said and done 6 nationally ranked teams, but we say that every year. That's the schedule that we've had since you joined the American Southwest Conference, and our players know that the reason I describe that schedule that way is our players know that we have to compete every week, and you've got to have your mindset around not being on a roller coaster emotionally. Every week you've got to get your mind around coming out and competing, and they do just such a great job of doing that.
Well, something else you mentioned last week I wanted to touch base on tonight. It's a little bit off the subject a little bit, but you mentioned you were heading from the show to go check out the JV game. Talk about the JV program, because when you guys started the program 10 years ago, obviously you didn't have enough guys for a JV team. So talk about how that feeds into the program.
Well, we're one football team. When you come to play for us, you're a varsity football player, and we train, we lift, you do everything together. Other teams at the Division III level will play what we call JV games, but they're developmental games. It's a second schedule. It's easier for the teams in Texas that have the 300-player rosters because they just have 2 separate squads. So not everybody does it that way.
Right.
I won't name the names, but if you go some places, they have an army of GAs that coach the freshmen and sophomores, and the professional coaches coach the juniors and seniors. It's a completely separate thing. We need all of our players to have a chance to play. We need to see their development. They need to see their development. So it's difficult for us to be able to grab a group of guys on some Mondays and go play a schedule, because it really affects practice on Tuesday.
Right.
From a rules perspective, it's a great rule. You can't have a contact practice after you have a tackling day. And so we have to be really light on Tuesdays, where the teams that just play split squad, they don't have to account for that. But we think it's really important to have player development. We're not a transfer portal school. We're a recruit for 4 years. It's very difficult to get in. So we want to make sure all of our players get a chance to play and develop. And so that developmental schedule, while it's not an easy thing for our coaches, it's not an easy thing for those players that don't get an off day. They have to come back. Even though it's a non-contact practice, they're right back at it the next day. It's really worthwhile for us to work through some of the pains for that. The gain is worth the difficulty.
Well, Coach, it's been a fun first half of the season. After this, in segment number 3, we'll come back and we'll talk about resuming the season against Howard Payne. But coming up next, a very special guest, new Southwestern Athletic Director, Mr. Ken Ralph, will be here. So that'll be coming up right after this break. You are watching SU Football Weekly here on the Vype Live Broadcast Network.
Pirates fight for
And welcome back. Quarter number 2 of SU Football Weekly here on Vype Live. Merle Bertrand back with you. I want to thank some more of our sponsors tonight. John F. Lewis CPA, Mighty Fine Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, Minuteman Press and Waterboy Graphics, Derek McGill of Primerica Financial Solutions. I know he's here tonight, Coach said. Ross and Champion, Rudy's, and Schlotsky's Georgetown. Just some of the many sponsors that'll help bring these broadcasts to you and support the program in general. And this is the part of the program where we usually talk to some of the guys on the team, but as Monty Python used to say, and now for something completely different, we're pleased to be joined here by the new Athletic Director of Southwestern University, Mr. Ken Ralph. And first of all, thanks for taking the time to come out tonight, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Well, as I usually started off with one of the guys, I'm going to throw it the same way to you. Just introduce yourself to people out there.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've been on the job less than a month now. My official start date was September 15th, so it's a little difficult coming into an academic setting after the school year has started.
Right.
You end up sort of drinking through a fire hose a little bit. But quite frankly, everybody's been so accommodating and so welcoming. We've always known that this is a very friendly environment. I've been here frequently. You know, I've known Dr. Munt for a long, long time, and Glenn Schwab, and so this is a very familiar place for me. And to be able to be here and serve our students in this capacity is really, really an honor.
Well, that was one of my questions. I was going to ask you what it's been like coming on board with the school year underway and the sports season is underway, and I love that description. That's one of my favorite descriptions, drinking from a fire hose. Do you kind of feel like you're settling in a little bit now?
You know, you're trying to, and one of the hard things is you come in and everybody's impatient because everything's going 100 miles an hour. But one of the things I've learned over being an AD for 20 plus years now is you have to be patient, you have to wait and relax and let things come to you a little bit. I'm the one learning the environment. I'm the one who's new into what we're doing here at Southwestern. And it's important for me to really listen and to really get to understand the environment and what we're trying to accomplish and what we already have in place that's working very, very well. And there are a lot of things that we do very well and a number of things where we have aspirational goals where it'll be my responsibility to help us get there. And so it's really been a lot of fun for me to just kind of take it all in and do a lot of observation, do a lot of listening. And I'm really enjoying getting to know our staff, getting to know our students, getting to know this environment. It's a really wonderful place.
Well, you've literally crisscrossed the country. You went to school in Anchorage, Alaska. Most recently spent 4 years as the athletic director at the University of Maine, with stops in Colorado and New York in between. So what caught your eye about Southwestern and brought you to Georgetown ultimately?
Well, you know, I looked at my wife, Mary, and said, we haven't moved enough lately, so it's time to pick up and do this again. And yeah, I'm glad she's sitting around the corner there. I'm not sure I want to see her expression. But, you know, it's interesting. I really had a great experience in Maine in many ways. I really loved our students, and really we had an interesting setup there. And we were able to do a lot with facility development and fundraising, and we changed the culture quite a bit. But there were some uncomfortable things about the way the program was being treated there, and the way we weren't accommodating our students to a level that I felt was appropriate. And Division I in general has kind of gone that way. And having come through Division III programs at RPI and Colorado College, which is in the same playing conference as Southwestern, and in the primary sports we play, when this came open, the idea to come back to a residential liberal arts environment, to a place I knew, to a place I respect, was a pretty easy decision, and I'm very happy I made it.
Now, I grew up in Illinois. You can talk about all that highfalutin spin. It's really to get away from the winters in Maine, right?
Well, I think we had 120 inches of snow last year. Right. And, Mary was talking to our faculty athletic rep and some others over here, and one of her comments was, hey, didn't mind losing the snowblower and the snow shovel. So I don't think we're going to need them here in Georgetown.
Let's hope not, anyway. You touched on it a moment ago. Not only do you have to get up to speed in a hurry with all the coaches and the instructors and the students and everybody here at Southwestern, but you're kind of dealing with what's it been like getting used to counterparts, and not one, not two, but three different conferences. The SCAC, the ASC for football, and then the new conference at football is moving into next year.
Oh, I've had a lot of experience doing that. At Maine, we were, in the America East for our primary playing conference, but in Hockey East for hockey, and then the CAA for football.
Right.
At Colorado College, it was NCHC for hockey, Mountain West for soccer, and SCAC for all sports. At RPI, it was Liberty League and ECAC. So I've always had experience dealing with multiple leagues, and that juggling can be difficult because you're trying to keep everything straight. The good thing is we've got a wonderful administrative staff with Jay Davison and Glenn Schwab. So between the three of us, we should be able to manage this easily. I think people make a bigger deal of it than it really is. It's really not that big of a headache as long as you maintain good relationships.
Right. Well, we were here, and a lot of folks here tonight at the show and watching online have been following the football program since it started up again in 2013 under Dr. Munt, and kind of continued to grow under Glenn Schwab. You're coming in at a major time of transition with the Pirates switching from the ASC to the Southern Athletic Association next year, and there's a new stadium in the works. So how did all of that figure into your thinking and into your thought process that you thought about moving down here?
Well, I'll tell you, it is exciting that the university is going to be investing in new facilities, and not 100% through fundraising. Some of it's going to be done through initiatives brought forth by the university leadership. That doesn't happen everywhere. At Maine, it was 100% fundraising if you wanted new facilities, and same thing at Colorado College. So the investment that Southwestern is making into its athletics infrastructure, into its physical plant, is important. We have a lot of things that are very nice. We don't have anything that's that next level. We don't have a signature facility here. And I need to develop a narrative that I can bring forward to the Board of Trustees, the Board of Visitors, President Trombley, to help her and to help them as leaders in this organization recognize what premier athletic facilities does for the brand of an institution. And it's a great way for us to sell ourselves in what's going to become an increasingly competitive marketplace. And it's not just about a football stadium, which is going to be important, but there's other things we need to do. We need to add to our locker room inventory so every team can have their own locker room space. We need to probably develop a secondary turf field for the ability to bring in outside groups for rentals and for competitions and things to be able to experience our campus environment. We also, I think, need to do some significant upgrades to the Robertson Center. And the number one thing the students have told me since I've been here is please get rid of the blue seats in the Robertson Center. So I have a feeling that's going to be on my to-do list.
Well, I mean, you've got a lot of experience with that, with developing new facilities and that kind of thing. So how much is that past experience, going to help you out?
Well, it will quite a bit, and we've been fortunate because I think Dr. Munt did a really nice job in securing spaces and securing the way of the layout of venues is quite nice. And so we've already got a really substantial starting position here. It's not starting from scratch because some wonderful work has been done previously, but we're gonna work on taking that next step.
Right. Well, just as a general question, how would you describe the job? A lot of people are familiar with an athletic director does at the high school level. How would you describe the job here at the collegiate level, especially specifically Division III collegiate level?
Well, it's funny. I don't think there's a typical day.
Right.
And doing this for as long as I have, you think you can settle into a routine, and there isn't necessarily a routine. Some things you do are a bit of a grind when you're dealing with budgets or you're dealing with administrative tasks or you're dealing with, some of the certain day-to-day things that get repetitive and can bog you down. But then you get some things that really energize you. And the number one thing for me is attending games. You know, it's my favorite part of this is watching the students get out there and perform. You know, they work so hard, they practice so hard, to be able to get them, see them go out and display their passions in that way is my favorite part of this. But I'm also really into the strategic planning and into capital projects. And I think if you look back at my career, I've been a bit of a builder. I really love doing it and working with architects and working with construction contractors because I know a finished product is going to make a difference in the life of our students, and that's really important to me.
I was going to ask you about attending games. I'm guessing that your social life is pretty well taken care of during the school year, correct?
Yeah. Again, sorry to Mary. I don't know how many games she's been dragged to over the years. It's great that I married a sports fan, but you know, this is my 21st year as an athletic director, and I've made, I think, pretty much every home game.
Wow.
I just love it. I mean, you get me to a tennis match or a lacrosse game or a football game or a basketball or volleyball game, and I'm a happy person. And I'm still competitive as anybody can be, and I want to be on the right side of that scoreboard. But I want our students to have a great experience, and I want it to reflect positively on this institution.
Well, so much attention goes to football in the state of Texas. One of my colleagues at Vype refers to football as the national sport of Texas. So you've got Southwestern competes in 20 different intercollegiate sports. How do you find that balance, and how does football fit into that whole mix in your mind?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, Joe Austin and I have known each other for a long time. When he was hired to get this program started, we actually helped him out from Colorado College with some old football gear because the colors are the same.
Right.
And, you know, it's interesting. I think one of the things that football does, and this is outside the competitive element of football, is you're attracting 100 to 120 men to the Southwestern campus. Without football, you might have a significant larger gender imbalance than we do. We're approximately 55% female and 45% males in undergraduate enrollment. And, you know, football, when you add that 100, 120 bodies, it really makes a big difference. It also helps with diversity. I mean, you take a look at our roster, and we have students from all over, big schools, small schools. You know, we have, you know, so geographic diversity, we have economic diversity, we have ethnic diversity that we're bringing to the campus. And I think that it's really important as we expose our students to different viewpoints and different ways of thinking. And quite frankly, I think when we get football back on campus, and it's going to happen. So, you know, we're hoping to break ground in December of 23 on this facility. But there's nothing like a football Saturday.
Yep.
There just isn't. You know, the pageantry, the energy, the passion, the bands, the cheer team, you know, the players getting hyped up and ready to go. It's just a different feeling than any other sport on a game day. And to be able to bring that back to the campus, I think, is going to be an important element of student life, and it's going to be a bit of a defining element for the campus.
Well, you may have touched on this a moment ago, but once you do kind of get settled in and the fire hose kind of backs off a little bit, what are some of the longer-term things that you're hoping to accomplish here?
Well, obviously, you know, we want to make sure we provide our students with the very best possible environment for them to excel. And so there's certain things that we really want to do. We want to expand the strength and conditioning areas. We want to expand our locker room inventory so our teams can have, each program can have their own locker room. We feel that that's important to create a sense of identity and to make sure that we're making some significant steps forward. One of the things I brought up to President Trombley is, you know, everything about Southwestern is a big step up from high school. So, you know, you take a look at the quality of the faculty, you look at the quality of student life, you look at the quality of facilities, you look at the laboratory, it's a big step up. But if you're a kid from a 5A or 6A school in Texas, the athletic facilities might not be.
Right.
And so we need to be able to adjust to make sure everything at Southwestern is a big step up from the high school experience. And if we're going to attract the top students, and remember, you're not going to win championships at the Division III level with all Division III players. We've got to be able to go out and recruit some kids who maybe were getting looks at Division I. We've got to recruit a kid that might have been looking at a Lafayette or might have been looking at a Holy Cross or looking at those kind of schools as a possibility if we're going to win championships at this level. Certain sports are already doing it. You got a team like our tennis team and you got a team like our golf team, and they've got Division I athletes on those rosters. And look at the success that they're having. We'll bring that into all our sports.
Well, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on that I didn't cover here? Floor's kind of yours right now.
Well, I think you know, so far for me, the biggest thing is the welcome I've received in Georgetown has been nothing short of spectacular. I mean, people have been incredible, and people have been coming out of the woodwork to help, and I've never had a reception like this at any school where I've worked. And it just says a lot about the people of Texas, a lot of the people of Georgetown, about what our community at Southwestern is all about. And I'm having an awful lot of fun getting to know our students as well. We've got a great group. They're smart and inquisitive and articulate, and I'm really looking forward to putting my best foot forward for this group.
Well, I started out by introducing you or having you introduce yourself the way we do with the players. I'm going to end this segment by having you the same opportunity I give them. Any shout-outs you want to give?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing for me was Mary being down here now. When I first got started, she was still back in Maine, and so it's really important to have her here, and I feel a little bit more complete. And we've got Glenn Schwab is sitting out here as well, and Glenn has been such a gracious individual, and we've known each other a long time, and I'm really looking forward to working with Glenn going forward. And then obviously, Dr. Munt, Deleta and I have known each other again probably since 2007. She's just a legend in our industry,
Yep.
and it's an honor to sit in the office that bears her name, and I want to make sure what I do here makes her proud of what we're doing here at Southwestern.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to come on the show, and hopefully life will calm down a little bit for you, and enjoy yourself. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Mr. Ken Ralph, our guest here, new Southwestern Athletic Director. We'll take a break, and when Coach comes back, we'll talk about Howard Payne a little bit. Coming up in quarter number 4, audience participation. You can shoot me an email at southwesternfb@gmail.com. We'll be right back. SU Football Weekly here on Vype Live. And welcome back to quarter number 3 of SU Football Weekly here on Vype Live. Merle Berkshire back with you along with Coach Austin. And before we talk about Howard Payne coming up here in the next couple of minutes, I want to give you a chance to talk about Mr. Ralph a little bit. I didn't realize you guys had that kind of long-running history.
They were very helpful at Colorado College when we were starting. So Tom Ross and I flew up and got a U-Haul, drove to Colorado College, met up with Ken, loaded up all their old excess football equipment, and we still use some of the field equipment. Of course, the helmets are out of date and things. We still use a lot of, because it's black and gold, so it was easy. And it allowed us to stretch that startup money just a little bit further. So it was great. He gave us a great deal as far as getting equipment. And he was so kind to stay in touch with us. He emailed me. I think our first 3, 4, 5 years, he'd email me once a year and check in. And after we won our championship in 2016, he said, "So great, you're the honorary football team of Colorado College." I remember he said in an email. So it was really, things always come back around, right? Like I told you when we worked with you with KMAC, I said it wouldn't surprise me if we ended up doing broadcasts again. When he was here, before he even started, he was just sat down in my office for 30 minutes, and we were just talking, and I'd mentioned some things, if we could just get to here, if we could just get to there, if we could do this, and he was like, "Well, that's okay. How about this?" And then I went home and told Marissa, I said, "I don't think I'm thinking big enough."
Right, yeah.
And so it's so energizing to hear that. I've said we have some 5 and 6A players, but we don't try to make a living off of that, because it's about being to where we can be financially close enough in financial aid to start attracting some upper division players. Those things are really exciting from the seat that I sit in on the Southwestern bus, because we would love to be a part of those things, and we're excited about I guess that's got to hang on and see how far he can take us with the facilities and with the things he can hopefully get us going in some other areas in recruitment. So it's really been an energizing thing for me and an exciting thing to be a part of, because we've gone through different cycles of building the football program, building it, surviving COVID. We've got, as you mentioned, we've got the SAA, we've got the building project. So it's just a great phase, I think, to go into, and there's so many things that are exciting, not just for football. So that's a really good thing for our football program, is to know that so much support and so many things are on the horizon that are going to be all good.
What's it been like just in terms of workflow? It kind of reminded me of, when you go to the airport and you're walking along, you got to step on one of those treadmill kind of things that's already rolling. What's it been like getting used to, somebody new coming into the situation here?
It's been pretty simple, I think, because as Ken said, Shea Davison and Glenn Schwab have been here, and they kind of know what's going on. But when I've needed to meet with Ken, he's been available to me.
Right.
I've been able to text him and communicate. So I think, as he said, it's more difficult for him to come in midstream than it is for us to accept him midstream, because we're just rolling into our weekly routine. And he hasn't come in and say, stop, you have to adapt how I want done right now, to stop what you're doing.
Right.
So I think his approach has been really good of kind of meeting us halfway. There's been some things he wanted to change, and we're able to do that. And I'm sure there'll be more things as we go through and get into new, fresh school years. But it's been a pretty good transition, I think.
Well, we saw highlights from the first half of the season. Half number 2 gets underway Saturday night as the Pirates return to action on the road versus Howard Payne on Saturday. What will be the first day game of the season. The Yellow Jackets are 5-1 overall, 4-0 in the conference after easing past McMurray 30-18 last Saturday. Be the 5th overall meeting, but the series tied 2 games each. The Pirates dominated the first 2 meetings. They've beat you guys in the last 2, but they were both pretty close games. So what can you tell us about this year's version of Howard Payne University?
Well, when the transfer portal started, it totally changed their football program. They are a team that just loads up on grad transfers, Division I and Division II drop downs. And to their credit, this year, for example, they've got 4 transfer wide receivers, 3 from Division I, 3 from Division II. And so it fits their school. They're able to get those players in. The financial aid and just the overall cost is a little bit different. So kudos to them. They're averaging 50 points a game on offense. One of the best offenses in the country, no doubt, because every year they've been able to load up with this transfer talent. And it's a completely different wide receiver core than last year, but because they're so talented, they really haven't missed a beat. Now, defensively, they haven't been quite as good, although they had their best week last year. They're an interesting team in that they're scoring 50 and they're giving up about 30.
Right.
So their defense, I think, plays to the style of their offense. They're being aggressive. They're trying to get a 3 and out. They're trying to force a turnover. If that really doesn't work, that's fine. The ball goes back to their offense, and away they go again. So I don't think they have a bad defense. I think they play complementary football, and they're okay with being a really aggressive defense. If it doesn't work that drive, then that's an okay thing. But I think if you ask their coach, I think they would say that they run through their offense. Their offense is the main thing. It's where their Division I transfers are loaded up, and it's going to be a good task for us. We did a great job against them last year. We held them to 24 points. We lost by 3. We held the lead most of the game. They scored on a late 2-minute drive to push past us. And so hopefully we can get that same effort again. And when you're playing a team that averages 50 points a game going back to the bye week, it's a good time to have 2 weeks to prepare for them. Just having a couple extra days to get prepared for the speed they're going to show us and the route combinations they're going to show us. Just gives us a little bit more, hopefully gives us a little bit more confidence going into this matchup.
Yeah, I was looking at their schedule. I noticed a lot of basketball scores. So, what's kind of your prediction? Do you think you're going to have to kind of match that sort of shootout style, that 50-40 kind of game? Or are you hoping to kind of make it more into, like a 30-18 game like last year was? Well, you'll take it any way you can get, right?
You never know how it's going to go. I mean, last year it was 24-21. We did some good things on offense. We need to maybe do just a touch more. And we did. I think that's a good style of game for us. And we're just going to continue to play. And we're going to have a really good scheme to try to slow them down and make them work hard on both sides of the football. So I think if we can replicate what we did last year, and again, I'm not giving away any schemes because we're different players, our schemes are a little bit different, but it's the same idea of what they want to do offensively is they want to score on 3 plays. For example, every game, last game they didn't throw it deep till their 3rd play. Every other game they've thrown it deep on the first 2 plays of the game.
Wow.
And they've connected on one of the 2 plays. So they come out and they just throw it deep until they get a touchdown. It only takes them a few plays to do it. So what we want to do is we just want to make them work a little bit harder, make them string together longer drives, and I think that will give us a good chance to be successful.
Well, you touched on it a moment ago. You guys are coming off the bye. They had to play a game last week. How much of an advantage is that? Not only to get some guys maybe healthier a little bit, like we talked on the show last week, but you've got that 2 weeks. You can look at the game from last week and see what they did last week. How much of an advantage will that be for you having that extra week to prepare?
Time will tell, but hopefully it's an advantage. We have had some bad luck with our defensive secondary with health. Peyton Ludeman hasn't played all season long. Hopefully he can make a season debut. He's a starting safety for us the last 2 years, and hopefully he'll be healthy enough to give us some contributions. Camden Terry started our first game at corner. He went out in the middle of that game, hasn't played since.
Right.
So we've been a little bit thin there. Our offensive line, in practice last Thursday, we had one of our intended 5 original going into preseason 5 starting offensive linemen available. But some of those guys have played more. Matt Gomez has started some games, so you could say we had two of our 5 starting linemen. But we have a lot of offensive linemen out,
right.
A lot of our depth offensive linemen out. So hopefully they have done a lot of icing and sleeping and recovering. I reminded them, if you're doing rehab exercises, you need to borrow bands and ankle weights for the weekend. Let's make sure we get this done because we need to come back and hopefully be healthier. So I think to sum up your question, if we can use this to be a little bit more healthy, if we can get some guys back on the offensive line, if we can get some guys back in the defensive secondary, then it will be a great time to have had that bye week.
And as I mentioned in quarter number 1, this is the first day game of the season. How different is that for you guys in terms of rhythm and just kind of getting prepared, getting there early, all that kind of stuff? And do you have a preference playing during the daytime or playing at night?
Well, I highly prefer day games, but with the temperature,
sure,
you can't do it until later in the season, especially when we're playing on the road. We went to East Texas Baptist. You get kicked out of your hotel at 11 when it's checkout time. So what do you do?
Right.
Sometimes there's things to do. Sometimes there's not. We were able to find a nice, cool, dark movie theater to relax, had nice, cushy seats. So that's how we killed a couple hours. Sometimes you're stuck sitting at your restaurant for 4 hours, which is not ideal.
Yeah.
So to kill the day, it's just hard, and it's just not a good routine at all. On a day game, it's a pretty good routine. Things are moving. You get up, you go have your pregame meal, you go to the stadium, and boom, you're kicking off at 1 or 2 o'clock, and you're ready to go. So I think whether you're home or away, I think the rhythm of the day game is a good thing. In high school, Friday Night Lights is the thing, but it's a routine because you're in school all day.
Right.
You have things to do. You're not just twiddling your thumbs, sitting in a restaurant trying to kill 3 hours. So night games are fun, but I think when you get to the middle of the season and we get to switch to day games based on the temperature, I think it's good for the players.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, Howard Payne, that I didn't talk about?
No, maybe we'll see a little bit more in the post-game interview, so we'll tease that a little bit, get people to tune in.
There you
at
go.
1:45 for the pregame to get some more tidbits.
Well played, sir. You've done this before. We'll take a break. When we come back, it'll be audience participation, southwesternfb@gmail.com. My mom's already texted. I'm almost scared to see what she's going to ask you. But we'll go out and collect the cards if anybody's written out any questions, and we'll be back for the 4th and final quarter of SU Football Weekly here on Vype Live. welcome back to quarter number 4 of SU Football Weekly here on Vype Live. Again, southwesternfb@gmail.com. And this is my favorite segment of the season because it's a segment where you folks do all the work and I don't have to prep or anything. So audience participation time. We've already got a couple of questions. If there's any more out there, go ahead and pass them up. And no names on most of these, so we'll start with an easy one, Coach.
Should we do
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
sponsors?
Yeah, yep.
Yes, of course, we want to thank the last group of sponsors, and I missed the other ones, but Bricks Nail to Sheridan, Rita Healy, Bessie, all the folks that take great care of us. I don't know if we thank Steve, our bartender. Steve, I don't know if Steve's busy. He does such a great job.
Steve helped us set up the tables last week. They couldn't find anybody to do it. He came over and helped
awesome.
out.
Steve's awesome. Upstream Investment Partners, Zan's Hands and Suzanne George. Suzanne is always here, and her husband Bill. Georgetown Shirt Company, First American Title. Brad with Golden Rule Mesquite Creek Outfitters, Grooveline Productions, HEB, and the House of Gain. So thank you so much. Did I mention Stephanie Featherstone? Stephanie Featherstone is my insurance agent. She should be yours with State Farm. She's such a great corporate partner, so great to our family. Thank you.
And we got the second group in before Mr. Ralph, so I think we got everybody covered. So, again, audience participation time here. I'm going to start with an easy one, Coach. What do you do to relax after football season?
Well, I relax at Christmas time. We go to our, my family goes to our place in Hawaii, and we have to have that because it's the only place that Marissa and I can try to unplug and recharge because it's a 6-hour time difference. Now, we truly don't. I do a better job than she does, actually. But the great thing is when you wake up in Hawaii, it's midday in Texas. You can work the back half of the workday. And then by noon, everyone else is done working, so Marissa's forced to stop working at that point. But that's what we do. We used to do it at Thanksgiving, but it was too much of a quick turnaround after the season.
Right.
There's too many recruiting things. There's too many end-of-the-season things to do. And the university is closed longer, so we get to stay longer at Christmas time and enjoy some family time there.
Are you still coaching that game down in Mexico? I know you had done that for several years. But
yeah, the All-Star game in Mexico disbanded about 4 years ago.
Okay.
The Mexican football federations are always changing. It's just like the conferences in the United States that realign and move around. And so for folks that don't know, there was a annual All-Star game where we would take a group of Division III All-Stars, seniors that were done with their eligibility, and we'd go play the All-Star team in Mexico's first division. And so Mexico's first division has 90 full scholarships through grad school. So they play 6 years, maybe 7 with the redshirt year. So you're playing like 24-year-old men. And the trick was they called it an all-star team, but basically you played their national champion where they supplemented their weak links with everyone else's. Coach Tyler Logan is in his first year of coaching, and he's doing an awesome job. He kicked for 4 years at Florida State. He holds a lot of their punting records. He also placed kick for him, and at least 1 year he was the Special Teams Player of the Year at Florida State. Coming out of high school, he was the #1 kicker in the country. He then kicked for a year at Arizona State as a grad transfer, and I believe he had like 44 touchbacks last year.
Wow.
Doing kickoffs for Arizona State. So he really knows his stuff. He wants to get into coaching, and so we had an ad on the Football Scoop for an hourly special teams coach, hoping to really just find someone locally. Mm-hmm. And of course, he saw it and it's like, how can this work? How can I make this work? He really wants to get into coaching. So we pay him for like 3 hours a day to be there.
Right.
He works. He's a smart guy, but he's working at the Amazon Fulfillment Center to make it work for his family. So he's working 9 to 2 at the Amazon Fulfillment Center, hustles to practice, and then he does all the stuff with us. So he's trying to make it in the coaching business, and that's what you have to do to get in the door, is you have to take an opportunity when you have it. I don't know how long we'll get to keep him. He's really, really good, and he's willing to work really hard. But it would be great if some way we could find a way to expand his role, get him in our building on a more regular basis. Not only working with our kickers, but he relates well to players because he's so close to him in age. He could be an asset in recruiting. So Logan's doing an awesome job, and I just admire his work ethic. Willing to work at the fulfillment center, do what he needs to do for his family, and then comes to practice with us and is making it work.
I'm guessing that's a good example for some of the guys in the team, too, that have to do more than one thing at a time.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I kind of know what you're going to say to this one, but I'll ask it anyway. It says, Coach, what is the team's overall health entering the second half of the season? You talked about it a little bit in the Howard Payne preview.
Yeah, it could be better. there's some spots where we're doing okay, and there's some spots where we've really had a rough go of it. We've had some really bad luck with our offensive line. We've been missing long-term guys in our defensive secondary. So it would be really nice to get to where we could roll out, our best 30, 40 guys with that varsity group, and hopefully we can get there sooner than later.
This came from Norma. She signed her name, so I assume it's okay to say who it is. You sign your name, you get exposed in public. That's the way it works. It says, when you face those double-digit leads, what is your strategy to pull the team ahead?
Normally talking about like the McMurray game where we were down by double digits twice. We used halftime to our advantage really, really well, I think, that game. We did a lot of coaching at halftime and a lot of working with the players and getting a plan for them to be in the best position both in terms of offense and defense. So sometimes a halftime break can help you. Other times you're just having to use those breaks on the sideline. I think, though, it comes back to having a football team that we talked about. They're diligent. Mm-hmm. They come and compete every week, and they're going to play with effort. And we try to train them to let me look at the scoreboard and worry about those things. They just need to go play, and the only play that matters is the next play, and then it's the next play, and then it's the next play. So hopefully that game shows racing 2 double-digit leads, that's how their approach to the game was.
Right.
Just keep chipping away, just play the next play, and hopefully things will work out like it did in that game. Thanks, Norma.
This one here says, what is your favorite SU football memory? It's actually a couple of questions here. We got some time. We'll go ahead and get all of them. But the first one is your favorite SU football memory.
I don't know. Don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Next question.
If you could be a superhero, who would you be?
If I could be a superhero, who would I be? Man, this is an important question. I feel like I should get time to think about this and answer it next week. If I was a superhero, who would I be?
Well, you want to go to question 3 and come back, and you can process question?
Yeah, let me let that gestate for a while. Let's see if anything pops out.
You're really going to milk the crowd, make them hang on your every word here.
I wish I could just have a fast answer for them. I'm sorry.
Question 3, there's a rumor you'll be competing in a powerlifting competition. Can you confirm?
Yeah, I can confirm that. At age 43, I'm going to enter my first powerlifting competition because I had knee surgery. It'll be almost 10 months to the day for my knee surgery, and I need to be accountable to being able to get back to being able to physically do the things I need to do for my job, but to be able to toss my kid around and just be healthy. So that was kind of a marker for me to put that out there and say you've got to get back into shape to do those things. I used to run. When I moved down here, Marissa was doing full marathons and I was doing half. So I weighed 180 pounds. I've gained 50 pounds since we've been here because I had to become a lifter when I ruined all the cartilage in my knee. And so that's how I'm going to do my cardio and stay in shape is through weightlifting. My days of doing half marathons are in the books. But I think I'm going to do okay. Next year I go to the 44-year-old weight class, age group. Mm-hmm. And if I can be in the 220 weight class, I think I have a shot at some Texas records. So we'll see. I got to get down to 220 from 232, but I bet I could do that.
You want to come back to the superhero question?
No, not yet.
Okay. Are there any more out there before we get to my mom's question? I haven't looked at it yet, so. All right, we'll get to my mom. Okay. She says, this is old school from your old mom. Coach Austin, what's your favorite thing about having Merle as your broadcaster? I know he's thrilled being back with you in SU. And she says, Merle, you better ask it just the way I did. So I don't want to tick off my mom, but she might be a little. I always joke about my mom. I could be an axe murderer. She'd say, as long as you're happy. So.
I think, Mom, what's great about your son, Merle, is the ease of our communication. We've done this for a long time, and so we can just communicate, getting ready for the show, or if there's things that didn't go great or went great, we can just communicate and talk about it, and it's all good. I also just like the way that you have things flow with the show. I think our audience has really liked it. There were a lot of people that said how great it was when Merle came back. In fact, my dad asked me last week how I get a Merle's Marauder shirt. I said, well, that was we made those 5 years ago, so I don't think, maybe there'll be a new generation someday.
Right.
But I think the best thing for me is our ability to communicate, and I think that's really cool.
And for those who don't know, Coach will tell me, and he said it 5 years ago, and he said it this year. He said, I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you in, just like I do with the team. If something's not going right, and I said, well, please do, because we're not going to get better if we don't know something's going wrong. So very much appreciate that. Yeah, that's pretty much all we got here. Think that is it. Anything else you want to add about just the night in general, or Howard Payne, or anything like that before we sign off?
No, it was great to have so many of our corporate partners here tonight. Thank you so much for that, and thank you to Ken and Mary. Welcome to Southwestern. Thanks for being on the show, and I thought we did a good job of having a great bye-week show. Last year we didn't do a bye-week show, and a lot of our regulars got really mad at me. So we made sure we had a bye-week show this year, and I thought we did a good job.
Well, thank you again for everybody for coming out. It's great to see such a good crowd tonight. And, yeah, every Monday night we got, 5 or 6 shows left. So make it a habit if this is your first time coming out tonight. So the season resumes on Saturday when Southwestern travels to Gordwood Stadium in Brownwood to take on the Howard Payne Yellow Jackets. Game time is set for 2 o'clock, and we'll be on the air at roughly 1:45 if you absolutely can't make it. But, again, come out to the game, and you can always check the replay later on. So thank you to our producer tonight, Suna Vincott, Josh Blanche, Chuck Tracy, our QA tonight, Nathan Nunez, Christina Weber, my better half, Coach Austin, our guest, Mr. Ken Ralph, Bessie Martinez with the Georgetown Inn. My name is Merle Bertrand. Have a great week, and we will see you Saturday afternoon from Brownwood. Good night, everybody.
Come on.